Do you know how in Return of the Jedi,
yeah,
the Empire, they had this really awesome idea, right?
Yeah.
They're like, we built a Death Star, and it blew the fuck up.
Yes.
Why don't we just build another one?
I think it's an ingenious idea, actually.
Stroke of genius.
I am the smart. I am the smart.
I'm just trying to think, what other company would think of doing something like that? Something goes to shit, right? And they're like, you know what? Let's just build another one. It's funny because I'm just trying to think of the actual word Death Star. Especially in the word death. There's two letters that definitely stick out for me. EA.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're here with another Star Wars EA video.
Another EA video,
That's
everyone.
right. The game and the studio that made our channel. We love talking about this subject. We just never get tired of it.
I know, and we do have to get a photo of good old Andrew Wilson. We are going to get it, okay?
Yeah,
It's
we'll
going to
do it.
come
We'll do
around sooner or later.
If someone could send us a printer, because who the fuck owns a printer in
Yeah,
2018?
literally.
Nobody. Bit of background to all of this.
Okay.
Did you know, Sam, that EA owns the exclusive rights to be able to produce Star Wars games?
I did know that.
What a brilliant idea that
I know,
was.
Disney is like, thank God we gave it to those guys.
They're nailing it. They've put out 2 games that have come out in Star Wars games in the last few years. Both of them sucked.
Oh, they were
fantastic.
both fantastic games.
Totally. So Disney are obviously just running their hands together, just being like, oh yeah, we're making all the money right now.
Literally.
And that agreement is meant to last for a few more years yet. No
10
one
years,
else,
isn't it? 10 years
something like that, at least.
Something like that.
No one else is allowed to make Star Wars games right now. Nobody else can make Star Wars games but for EA. And this is in contrast to the way it was back in the day when lots of studios were making Star Wars games. It was fantastic because that means we've got Republic Commando and Rogue Squadron and Shadows of the Empire and Knights of the Old Republic. And even the Old Republic from EA, which was a very imperfect MMO, but it was actually a really beautifully written game. It had lots of great things about it, but it just didn't pan out. Anyway, fast forward to the present day, only EA gets to make Star Wars games. They completely fucked it up.
Yeah.
Obviously culminating in the destruction of Battlefront 2 in spectacular Death Star explosion fashion. On top of all of this, we know that Visceral Studios, which is the studio that made Dead Space, that series back in the day, they were working on a single-player, narrative-focused Star Wars game called Project Ragtag, and it was headed up by Amy Hennig. Now, Amy Hennig was the person that sort of, helmed the Uncharted series in the past. Very, very respected developer. Just top-tier sort of stuff. Now, there were all sorts of rumors flying around that game wasn't really playing out. Jason Schreier of Kotaku did a really interesting article talking about the fact that the development just wasn't shaping up correctly, lots of issues, and in the end, EA canned the project. We were very disappointed because they actually shut down Visceral Studios as well.
And they've shut down so many other great ones too.
This
This
is
is what they do.
They are the Grim Reaper of studios. They have the anti-Midas touch.
Yes, I wonder if they've actually taken any of those assets from that game.
Well, this is the thing. Yes, they have.
They have.
Yeah,
I
they
see.
have.
Okay.
So when they announced that they were closing that, they did say it was highly likely that some of the assets from that game would make it into a future Star Wars title. Now we know what's happening, or we get at least a suspicion. We know, by the way, as well, that Respawn, the guys that make Titanfall, they're actually working on a Star Wars game as well. We don't know anything about that one at all. Totally secret source right now. But the Vancouver project has been revealed because they're hiring for someone who specializes in online components or online infrastructure. The exact job description line item reads, lead a team to deliver online features for a Star Wars open world project. The rest of the listing doesn't share much else, though there are references to the game being multi-platform, which is a little surprise, and a requirement to have experience implementing online features such as matchmaking, asynchronous interactions, live services, server host migration, etc. That quote comes directly from GameSpot. Thank you very much for that. But yeah, we know there's an open world Star Wars game being made right now.
Open world though, like for me, open world always leads, of course, to like an MMORPG kind of feel. I mean, that kind of exactly what I think of when I hear open world.
No, now I think in the present day on consoles, I think Destiny, I think
MMORPG. Destiny is certainly,
it's certainly got that flavor, but I think it's more MMO light. That's where I would go with this, because we know that Respawn are working on a game. It could be Star Wars Destiny, maybe, we don't know.
I mean, that'd be pretty cool.
It could be.
It would be pretty cool, and look, it's not so detached from that kind of idea of world in terms of it's very sci-fi. You know, it's definitely a space opera in that regard.
Sure.
I could totally see that happening. But my real question here is, are they a little bit late to the party? Because if they're doing this now and they're just starting it now, Destiny 2's already out. We're going to be seeing Anthem soon. You know, all these games are going to come along and maybe kind of soak up that market. I mean, Star Wars is a very strong IP. There's always going to be room for that. But, I mean, so many games go into development when, you know, a genre is hot. And then they get to the end of that development and that genre's kind of moved on by then.
It's exactly what happened to the Old Republic. You know, the textbook example of that. It's the biggest example of that, really, across any part of the gaming medium. I suspect for that reason it's probably not going to be a Destiny-style game. I think if it were to be that, it would come from Respawn first, because they've been working on it for a while. It would hit the market sooner. But even then, that would kind of clash with what Anthem is as well, and I wonder if EA want that in their portfolio.
That's so true.
It's like, do we want two of our games to compete with each other? Maybe not so much. So I suspect it's something different. I wonder if EA will the open world project is actually it's set on like the Hut planet, and it really is just traveling around different casinos.
Yes.
Right. And just it's
different
you travel from one
microtransactions.
Hut casino to the next one.
Yes.
Different microtransactions at each one. You're like, hey, it's open world.
There's like the loot box cafe over there.
That's
the
right.
Ultimate Team bar.
Yeah,
you know, it's all just happening.
Star Wars Ultimate Team would be a fantastic.
That would be great.
But look, I'll be totally upfront and saying I have zero faith in EA to be able to deliver on a great single player or open world Star Wars game. There's been too much bullshit over the last little while, and if they do manage to deliver a good game, I'm sure they'll find some way to fuck it up with ridiculous microtransactionary. So I was just going to say that's going to be the biggest problem here, 100%.
Yeah. Regardless of what game comes along, we can be sure that it's going to be riddled with microtransactions. It's going to be a game built on microtransactions, so the gameplay is going to be like second to how much you've actually spent to enjoy the game. So I mean, it's going to be I'm not excited for this, to be honest.
It's also going to be a long way off if they're hiring someone right now.
It's 2 or 3 years at least.
At least, you know, I really think it's probably 3 to 5 years, you know, before we actually see this out in the market, which further goes towards the long spell that we've had between good Star Wars games being released. You know, like if you didn't have this exclusive agreement, there could be 5 studios all around the world working on Star Wars games right now. It'd be fucking awesome.
And I think it's good though, because it also it makes sure that each game that's coming out is going to be competing with other Star Wars games. And I think that's important to have
that one-upmanship.
Yeah, like it's important to have that competitive edge. It's like, okay, what are we doing that this other other development house isn't doing?
Yeah.
With this, it's like, yeah, cool, we've got the rights, we can do whatever the fuck we want.
Exactly right.
I don't think that's actually good.
So that's it. The days of pod race. Remember Pod Racing?
Ah, yes, we even
God,
had
that's
that
a great game.
Yeah.
And
what console was that on?
64.
Yes, it was.
Fantastic game.
Yes.
And Starfighter as well. Which is also a fantastic PS2 era shooter. Anyway, all that cool shit that we just reminisced in those nostalgia years. Kids these days don't get to do that. They're like, remember that time I spent all that money in Star Wars Battlefront 2?
That time I bought a $70 game and then spent $2,000 on it.
That's right.
Like,
I remember that. My mum hated me. She never let me use her credit card
where's
ever
my
again.
credit cards?
That's right. We had no Christmas that year.